George Harrison's My Sweet Lord, and you can see or hear the influence of the former Beatle in my one-on-one guest latest album. It's Christopher Holland's Corner Green. Christopher's with me now. Hi, Christopher. So just moving on through your career then, and I know we've mentioned some of the great people that you played with, but after the B-sharps have folded, what happened after that for you?
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of session work kind of offers were coming up to do play with other people a bit. So I thought it would be a good opportunity to do that and a way of making a bit of extra money at that time when I was about 19 or 20. One of the bands that I first started playing with and ended up playing with for about four years or something was an American band called Green on Red, which was probably one of the first proper, like, real Americana bands before the term was even invented, I'd say. Almost completely ahead of their time, and that was a really, because to be honest, I hadn't really heard of them before that, but playing with them was just such a great, real rock and roll kind of band, and a real great live kind of sort of performance. So we sort of travelled all over the world really, from Europe, and ended up doing an album in Tucson in Arizona with them. I think their last album.
I was speaking to Christopher Holland, here, musician, and as an excellent album, Corner Green, which I have genuinely had the pleasure of listening today. All sorts of influences on it, 26 tracks as well, so you get your money's worth, Christopher.
It's good VFM, value for money, isn't it?
So, obviously Squeeze were around in live with your brother Jules. Stereophonics as well, Ray Davies, Tom Jones, Paul Weller. We must remember that you've recorded a lot of albums yourself, haven't you? I mean, the easiest sort of, like we said earlier, known as Jules' brother, if you like. There's so much more than that, isn't there? You've done so much on your own. Yeah,
well, I've always tried to do it, but it's almost like nowadays you can do it yourself, which a lot of bands are doing. Even Squeeze, they're sort of doing it themselves rather than through record companies, because it's just such a different world, which is really great in lots of ways, because you wouldn't have had that opportunity in the past, and it's only since I think about 1999 where you could make and produce your own CDs. Before that, with records, it wasn't really possible to do it. But so that's when I first started doing it, pretty much in 1999. And I've tried to do one every three or so years, just in between touring, just to better to finance it and keep it going somehow. But it's a bit of a labour of love in some ways. But it's just one of those things that snowballs a bit, and the more you do and people hear it, then it's just something I love doing anyway. So, but it's just it's just kind of trying to balance it with doing enough live stuff and then spending time in the studio. It's just sort of mixing it all around. But I feel so lucky to be able to do all that.
Well, let's hear some more music then. Speak to Christopher Holland one-on-one on BBC Radio Leeds. Because Neil Young's Heart of Gold, why this?
Well, I think it was just one of the first things I used to hear with Green on Red, and it reminds me of that time, sort of probably when I was about 21 or something, in a tour bus going over, the sort of Alps in Switzerland or something, and it's just got a nice sort of feeling about it, I think.
Yeah. Well, let's hear it. Christopher Holland's latest choice, Neil Young, Heart of Gold, BBC Radio Leeds. Musical choices of my one-on-one guest Christopher Holland on BBC Radio Leeds today. Now, Christopher's already told us that one of his highlights was the Queen's Jubilee concert. He met his hero Stevie Wonder, and he wasn't let down as well. But Christopher, not the only highlight in your life.
Well, I've got a few, not in my hair, but yeah, I've got a number really. I mean, another one obviously was fairly recently seeing Gilbert O'Sullivan playing.
Really?
I don't think you expected me to say that.
No, I did not. No.
But that was a big influence, because I hadn't really been aware of what an amazing sort of piano player he was, because he kind of used to play drums originally, apparently, and this is what I heard him saying in an interview. But he kind of plays the piano like he would play drums or like chopsticks or something, and so it's really rhythmic, and that's kind of what makes all his songs so unique, I think. So after the interview I had with him and seeing him live, I went investigated all his albums, which I hadn't really heard, and just became a huge fan, because he's just like a real sort of expert at crafting sort of really classic songs, on the piano.
Yeah.
And that's been a big influence, which is why I love all that kind of different vamping style of piano and all those, like Andrew Gold and all those kind of. There's not a lot of people that do that sort of thing, almost. Those kind of well-crafted pop songs on the piano.
Yeah.
That was one of the highlights. Anyway, seeing him at the Croydon, what's it called, the Croydon Fairfield Hall.
Because he was a huge name as well, but then seemed to back away from the limelight. Didn't seem to
Yeah, we had it
too easily on him almost.
He had a load of problems with his, with his manager and his record and the royalties and all that stuff. I don't know exactly all the details, but interestingly enough, he kind of from that decided to sort of almost start up his own record label, which is what a lot of people seem to be doing. Which is why I decided to do it as well, really.
This is Cosmic Harmony, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just a way of putting out your own music, pretty much, you know. And the other thing now, there's so many sort of great young sort of, singers and songwriters, I mean, locally, and just people that seem to send me stuff sometimes. On the Corner Green album, there's an amazing singer called Katie Shotter, and there's another artist called Siobhan Parr and Edwina Hayes. But there's so many brilliant young, sort of talented people that are around. And it's almost, by having a little record company originally, I thought you could almost have like a mini Motown type thing where you could get people into studio and which could work maybe next year or in the future. But it's just a platform to be able to put your stuff out, you know, because you need to do it somehow properly. So that was kind of the almost coming from Gilbert Sullivan.
Yeah.
Really, so thanks to him.
You set up your own record label, as you said, and it's how you sort of produced this album, Corner Green, that you had and you've been performing over the last sort of few months. It comes across to me, Christopher, that you're really into the craft and you love the music, the making of it. It's not about the fame and I don't know how lucrative the life is. I suppose it sounds like a lot of hard work to me as well.
It's nice to just walk down the street and not be kind of noticed, you know, and all that stuff, obviously. But that whole side of it, I wouldn't enjoy. But I just love being able to write songs, you know, that mean something really to you or hopefully someone else. And it's just the sort of, it doesn't sound too corny, but you know, that kind of thing. And it's always just trying to write the next best song, you know. You always think you've got a better one somehow, but as you get older, you know, it's like a good wine, really. I think it gets better, you know. Your songwriting when you're younger, you know, you're sort of having a go, but you don't really know what it's all about. And there's lots of songs you hear now, I mean, on the radio, you know, and there's some great sort of modern songs and hooks and stuff, but a lot of it's just done on computers almost, you know, written without a heart or soul, and it doesn't really do a lot for me, and I expect that's the case for lots of people, really, you know. So when you sit down on an instrument and just play a song, you know, write a song from scratch, like Randy Newman, someone would do, it's just a lot more meaningful, and that's how it's sort of real. So yeah, I suppose it's just a hobby that I do anyway, but if you can try and combine it with make a bit of a career from it, and if it pays for itself, which hopefully it will do, then that's kind of that's all you can ask for, you know. It's a nice little cottage industry thing.
Any regrets, Christopher Holland?
Well, at the moment, not really. Maybe a few more. An early night last night would have been a good idea, because I would have been a bit more awake. But no, I mean, in the big scheme of things, I suppose, you know, when you're on your deathbed eventually, which hopefully won't be for a while, but you don't want to think, oh, I wish I'd done this or that. So I mean, I probably could have been a bit more, you know, pushy or something, or a bit more networky, but I'm just not that kind of person. So you just have to go with the flow a bit, and what happens, I suppose, you know. But yeah, no, I wouldn't say I've got any regrets. I'm just happy to be able to make music and be alive, really. So.
And you toured with Shakin' Stevens around Europe for a while. That's something else I didn't know until I was reading up about you today. Huh? Hi there. Oh. We seem to have lost Christopher Holland, but he's back. Hi, Christopher.
So I think there's a bit of a technical hitch.
Hi there. Shakin' Stevens around Europe. You toured with him for a while as well.
I didn't get cut off deliberately, but Shaky, yeah. So I think he had more hits than anyone else in the 80s apparently in the sort of singles chart, and it was just great fun to show, you know. And he's a nice bloke, you know. He seems to have hasn't aged. Oh, can I hear the Beach Boys in the background?
You can. Brilliant. Why this one? Tears in the Morning.
Well, they're all beautiful songs, but I mean, this one particularly just is, it's just does bring tears, you know, in the morning or the afternoon. But it's just another one of their classic songs, really. There's so many, but this is one of my favourites.
Christopher Holland, thank you very much for joining us on BBC Radio Leeds.
Cheers, Adam. Great to speak to you.
And you too. The Beach Boys. Johnny Hanson's next.
Day and night, feel my light, it's gonna stand till my heart believes in what you chose.